July is an interesting month. It's definitely packed with exciting transits, some positive, some not so positive. I did a video breaking all of these transits down, and today I want to take a look at the 12 zodiac signs and some of the main transits to see what you can expect. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. If you'd like to work with me, you can book a reading down below. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, leave me a comment or a like. I really appreciate that. I am currently writing personal July horoscopes, so if you'd like to book yours, DM me on Instagram or send me an email at info@anastasiadoesastrology.com. So July is very packed for sure. You know, there's so much going on almost every day, sometimes few transits per day. So definitely check out the video that I did where I talk about every single one. For the purposes of time and, you know, not turn this video into a 3-hour-long video, I'm going to talk about five main transits. So Mars squaring Pluto on July 1st, full moon in Capricorn on July 13th, Mercury Cazimi on the 16th, new moon in Leo on the 28th, and Jupiter going retrograde on the 28th, because I find those to be the most important. So Aries rising in the beginning of the month until July 22nd, the sun is in your 4th house. Your attention is on your home and family. Maybe you're traveling to see them. Maybe you're spending more time taking care of your home. Venus is in your 3rd, so you're also spending like even more energy towards taking short trips, interacting with neighbors, spending time with siblings. The month begins a little bit rough because we have Mars in your 1st house, the energy of your identity, squaring Pluto in the 10th house. And you can possibly expect some type of professional drama or power struggles when it comes to you know, your personal will and your desire for independence and what you want for yourself in life, and then what people in power like your boss, your parents, even colleagues sometimes expect of you. So there might be fears coming up, there might be obsession coming up, like kind of dark feelings, and maybe you are really struggling to keep things under control or to keep things the way they are, but they need to be changed and transformed. So watch out for explosions and like fights with colleagues and bosses around that time. You really want to be careful. And then, you know, not that different from it, or like this energy kind of peaks even more so around the full moon on July 13th, and then again on July 18th, 19th, when Mercury and the Sun will oppose Pluto. So this month is very much about like your professional goals and your status in the world and how you want people to see you, right? Like if you don't work and you're like retired maybe, or you're a student, there might just be like an image you're putting out to the world, like very much Capricornian, in control, in charge, the boss. But then the sun is in the 4th house, and this full moon on the 13th is very much about like the tension between your home life and your need for comfort and your need for peace and security and your outside ambitions, right? So topics of home and work-life balance will be quite significant at this time. The moon will be conjunct Pluto on July 13th, so very much looking at the shadow side of Capricorn, looking at the shadow side of being too self-reliant, or being having too tight of a grip on things, or, you know, even how you are, maybe like what beliefs you have professionally that are actually not serving you. I have an Aries rising friend, and she doesn't ask for a raise because she feels uncomfortable, but like, you know, this could be a great time to actually step out of that mindset and be like, maybe it is time to ask for a raise. Maybe I will break away from the old mindset. So this full moon can definitely bring changes to your career letting something go, closing a chapter. It could be very positive in some way, right? But like it possibly will bring some tension and frustration. It's also squaring Chiron in Aries in your first house. So you have a responsibility to yourself. You have a responsibility to be the best version of yourself. And sometimes that means shaking things up and, you know, making yourself or other people feel uncomfortable if you have to speak up about something. So maybe this is the time that you actually advocate for yourself and make changes to your life that actually do you some good. And then we have Mercury Cazimi in your fourth house on July 16th. This could mean, you know, like after some drama and tension professionally, maybe you get insights and understanding about what makes you feel secure and comfortable, because it's happening in your fourth house. It's happening in the house of home and family. So there might be some kind of seed you're planting at home with family, connecting with them better, thinking of buying a property, thinking of moving, but ultimately just like realizing what is it all about and what makes you feel happy and joyful. And it's possible that it's more time at home and more time with family. On July 22nd, Sun enters Leo, your fifth house, and then we have a new moon in Leo on July 28th. New moon in the fifth house. Fifth house deals with romance, creativity, children, joy, fertility. So you may see seeds blooming there, like new beginnings of fun, where you are embracing your true light and you're taking dancing classes, or you're starting to paint, or you're starting to go out and date and you're like asking for what you want. Definitely could be, you know, new creative projects, maybe getting pregnant, maybe starting to date someone, and you will see this unravel in the next 6 months. This new moon is also trining Jupiter, which is stationing retrograde at this time, and Jupiter is in your first house. So very much about what projects do you want to start and how do you want the world to see you, right? Like Jupiter retrograde is about checking in on all the ways in which you have expanded and things that you have taken on yourself and projects that you would have started by now, and seeing whether all of them are worth pursuing, whether you have overdone it. And the new moon being together with Jupiter retrograde in the first house very much feels like, yes, you're planting all these new seeds of joy, but first you have to figure out what needs to be changed about your own approach to life, I think. Or like, you know, is it you're thinking negative thoughts? Is it you don't believe in your own beauty? Do you need to upgrade your appearance maybe in order to attract the partner that you want? Or, I don't know, take a self-confidence class or something. So like Jupiter retrograde could be about that to some extent. For Taurus rising, the sun spends most of the month until July 22nd in your third house. And there's a lot of focus on taking short trips, interacting with siblings and neighbors, writing, polishing your skills. Third house deals with anything we use our hands for, any applied knowledge. So you're learning, you're communicating, you're taking short trips, and you're figuring out what skills are worth pursuing, what message do you have that you want to share with the world. The month begins complicated, and it like starts with late June. It goes into early July. On July 1st, Mars in your 12th house will square Pluto in the 9th house. This might be Mars in the 12th, Pluto in the 9th. This feels very much like your own beliefs or matters related to education. You're kind of, but like it feels like foundational core beliefs about yourself, about your place in the world. Maybe looking at self-doubt, looking at any self-defeating tendencies you have, Like, you know, do you want a relationship but you are scared of commitment? Do you want to take a risk and become a business owner but you're afraid of not having a stable income? So something with the square, you may get triggered, you may feel very doubtful, very uncertain about your future. Maybe there's issues related to legal matters, to publishing, to travel, to education. Like you know, even if you want to start something but you feel like you lack education and you feel like you're too old to go after things. So you're not too old, you're never too old, right? So you're kind of looking at all the ways in which you're standing in your own way. And there might be people in power. Pluto is always power. There might be teachers, there might be authority figures, parents who are, maybe they kind of like plant this frustration in you, you know, and or maybe you have learned something from them. So I think you're examining your beliefs and where they come from and any unhealthy tendencies and behaviors. So the beginning of the month might just be a little bit frustrating because of all the heavy weight of it. On July 13th, we have a full moon in Capricorn. So this is happening in your 9th house. More focus on your beliefs, changes to things you believe, changes to your place in the world, to your philosophies. 9th house deals with, so maybe like, you know, it's Capricorn and sometimes Capricorn can get like crusty, rusty, crusty. So what kind of things you are believing that need to be let go? Because this full moon conjoins Pluto. So you're needing to transform and release this old version of yourself. And it might have to do, you know, there might be changes connected to education, to travel, to maybe the place where you live, because possibly something that you want to achieve requires you to take a risk and moving to a brand new location. So Capricorn, full moon conjunct Pluto is asking you, are you ready to let some of your self-doubt, some of your old beliefs go? And it's squaring Chiron in the 12th house, so even more focused on like self-defeating tendencies and notions that are no longer serving you and like learning to let those go. On July 16th, Mercury conjoins the Sun in your 3rd house, so you can receive positive news when it comes to technology, writing, blogging, your skills, your hobbies, your business, or even setting intentions about what skills you want to use. How do you see your business grow? This could be a lovely time to just like journal and write some intentions down, because Mercury conjunct the Sun is quite a potent time. So take some time to look at what you're trying to accomplish. And it's like, you know, 3rd house deals with what you're saying on a daily basis. So Mercury Cazimi could make you realize that, you know, this is the message you want to share with the world, and like, what is your message? Things to think about. On July 22nd, Sun will enter Leo, and then on July 28th, we're going to have a new moon in Leo, and this is your 4th house. So you may experience new beginnings related to home and family. Maybe you are starting a family. Maybe you are making your home more fun. There might be like Leo is bright, and that means that in your family you likely have a very solar characteristic where people gather around you, or you sort of come in and you light up the room. So you desire kind of like to shine, and there's more opportunities to shine and to connect with family. And once again, it feels like maybe moving, right? If you're a Taurus rising and you're possibly moving, let me know in the comments below. Or if other things resonate, you know, just say hi. Or if they don't, hopefully they do. But yeah, like say hi in the comments below. So yeah, like I wonder if there's anything that has to do with moving or changing your place of living, and maybe even like you're building some new wing, like a game room or a playroom or anything like that. Jupiter goes retrograde on the same day, July 28th, in your 12th house, and same energy, right? 12th house is self-sabotage, self-doubt, misdirection, losses. So Jupiter is healing and Jupiter is hopeful, but when it's retrograde, it's asking you to look at all the ways in which you stand in your own way before you can proceed and find all the joy that you want. Moving on to Gemini risings. For Gemini rising, we begin the month with the sun in the second house until July 22nd. Second house is about values and finances because it's Cancer. You're likely to value family and closeness, and maybe you are spending more money or focusing on making money and kind of like organizing your finances. But I feel the big part of Gemini rising energy is like trying to establish your own self-worth and your own value, and like maybe questioning it a little bit this month and being like, what is it that truly matters to me? And possibly maybe it's family, maybe it's something else, but you're sort of on this quest of figuring it out. The month begins a little bit rough with Mars in your 11th house squaring Pluto in the 8th house on July 1st, and it starts to build late in June and lasts a little bit, few days into July. So Mars in the 11th squaring Pluto in the 8th. Pluto in the 8th brings up topics of dependencies and debts you have to others or other people have to you. Any resources, any things you share with other people, topics of fairness, unfairness. So there might be a sense that something is unfair. Maybe you're doing all the work and people are not appreciating it. Mars is in the 11th house, house of groups, house of older siblings. Sometimes it's also considered, or, like friendships, networks, hopes and dreams. So you may have to deal with certain financial difficulties and fears and issues related to money or fairness. Like, maybe you have been working on a school project. Do people do school projects? They probably do, right? In July. There's all kinds of schools, and there's also a whole other hemisphere where for people it's winter right now. But maybe you've been working on a school project and you've been the one who has done all the work, and something happens where like you feel like people are taking advantage of you and you get triggered and you get into a dramatic exchange. So be careful fighting with people. Watch out for financial matters. You may also deal with like fears related to death and mortality around this time. Maybe someone is going through a tough time and you just experience a sense of frustration. So take good care of yourself early in the month. On July 13th, we have a full moon in Capricorn in the 8th house. So continuing with the whole topic of resources you get from others, debts, taxes, inheritance, contracts you have with other people, something needs to be changed. Something needs to be released. And maybe with the sun being in the second house and you questioning your self-worth, questioning what you value, with this full moon in the 8th, it's about redefining certain agreements. It's about having honest conversation and transforming, releasing unhealthy dynamics in your relationships. Be as honest as possible. Tough feelings might come up. It's not good to like shove them in and ignore them. It's going to serve you a lot better if you actually, have those tough conversations and build new boundaries and like put in new contracts and new agreements in place. It's squaring Chiron. This full moon is squaring Chiron in the 11th. So some kind of like, uncertainty about maybe you working at things on your own and being self-reliant because maybe you feel like you really want to belong to a group, to a relationship, to a partnership. But as much as you want to belong, you really need to take care of yourself and need to provide for yourself, and then everything else will fall into place. On July 16th, Mercury conjoins the Sun in your second house. This is lovely for financial dealings. You might get a good news about a job, about a bonus, about some kind of like financial promising thing. And of course, second house also deals with self-worth and belief in yourself, and sort of like there might be also an increase in self-understanding. If it's not necessarily a financial, like someone drops a check on your doorstep, it can also be an increased a boost to self-understanding. On July 22nd, Sun enters Leo, your third house, and there's a new moon in Leo on July 28th, the same day that Jupiter stations retrograde in your 11th house. So lots of action, like money, contracts. Third house is self-expression. So I feel like all this work that you've been doing, all this freeing from contracts and freeing from debts and rethinking your relationships leads to this beautiful new moon. The month ends more exciting, right, with the new moon in Leo. So it leads to some kind of new beginnings when it comes to your self-expression. Third house is communication, writing. So maybe you are feeling like you have something to share with the world. Maybe you're taking action on a writing project. Maybe you're embracing your skills and hobbies and taking them to the next level. Starting a business is a possibility here. It's trining Jupiter in the 11th, the same Jupiter that is stationing retrograde. So maybe it's a project that involves friends and social media or some kind of larger community, larger place you want to have in the world. You might be looking for fans, looking for support from other people. Jupiter being retrograde in the 11th house is still a good sign for working with others, being a leader, like, having group projects. But at the same time, Jupiter being retrograde says that you need to rethink your strategy, your social media strategy, your approach to working with your friends. Maybe you're starting a project with them, but you need to write a contract. You need to figure out how you're going to share duties and responsibilities, because you've gone through this whole ordeal this month, possibly with money that is owed to you or contracts that are not quite healthy. So exciting things, exciting new beginnings at the end of the month, but things will likely take some time to fully develop. For Cancer rising, the Sun is in your first house until July 22nd. Venus goes into your first house on July 17th. Mercury is in your first house from July 5th until July 19th, and it's all about you. It's the time for you to look at yourself and your own, and your gifts and your talents and your image. I was just talking to my Cancer rising friend, and she was concerned about her weight and how she really feels like she needs to take better care of yourself. So it's about you. It's about improving your appearance, improving your personality, and shining your light. And from July 17th until August 11th, I believe, with Venus being in Cancer, your first house, you're also at your most attractive. It's a lot easier to draw good fortune and money and resources in. Personally, as a Libra rising, for me, it's my all the time favorite time when Venus is in Libra and she's in my first house. So as a Cancer rising, you should definitely enjoy it. But not everything is easy, of course. Can it ever be? Life will not be fun, right, if it's always easy. So the month starts off rather rough. We have Mars in your 10th house of career, status, reputation, your place in the world, squaring Pluto in the 7th house. And you're dealing with some kind of relationship challenge, with a power struggle in relationships, with control issue in relationships. And it could be a marriage where your partner is demanding all of your attention or putting you down somehow, or represents, someone else might represent your fears. And if you're not married or not in a relationship, maybe there's someone in your life who's your substitute spouse who has a very strong effect on you. So something you're trying to accomplish in the world gets tested by your relationships and by fears you have, and maybe self-sacrifice or self-sabotage that you do in relation to your partnership. So it might be tricky. Your partner might actually be going through a tough time, taking your attention away from what you're trying to build. Be careful with power struggles and fights, and try to use this time to actually look at how you can slowly, step by step, overcome the difficulty. Pluto is the god of the underworld. He stole Persephone, brought her into the underworld, and she was a victim for a while, but then she overcame it and she became the queen of the underworld. And if this resonates, if you've been already feeling any tensions in your relationships, please tell me in the comments below. On July 13th, there's a full moon in Capricorn, your 7th house. So whatever struggles that you're dealing with, whatever tensions that you're facing in relationships, there might be a change, a turning point around the full moon on July 13th. You may be embracing your power. This full moon conjoins Pluto, maybe transforming something, an unhealthy dynamic in a relationship. Sometimes the transformation can be rather rough and can lead to severing a connection. Sometimes it could be less traumatic, right? And maybe it just deals with you being honest and sincere about how you feel and just unafraid to speak up. This full moon also squares Chiron in the 10th house in Aries, so you're addressing your fears and your doubt when it comes to standing on your own 2 feet. Perhaps the fears that you're having in a relationship, even with asserting yourself, have to do with the fact that you feel like you so depend on this other person for money, for their approval, for their resources. And so this could be a good time to start believing in yourself and believe that you are capable of a lot more that you give yourself credit for. July 16th is lovely. A beautiful time of insight and self-understanding with Mercury conjoining the Sun in your 1st house. Set some intentions. Imagine yourself in 5 years. What is your ideal case scenario? Where do you want to be? There might be opportunities for growth coming your way. There might be good news and overall sense of hope and increase in confidence. July 17th, I mentioned, I think is very good for you Cancer risings and also Capricorn risings, for manifestation, for romance, for being at your most attractive and charming and fertile. And that lasts until August 11th. On July 22nd, Sun enters Leo, your 2nd house of finances and values. And then there's a new moon in Leo on July 28th. So there's some kind of new beginning to your finances where maybe you're starting to make money through things that bring you more joy. And starting a new job, embracing a new role professionally, asking for a raise, anything like that. Because you're learning to be self-reliant. It's also trining Jupiter in the 10th house, so it feels very much professional new beginnings. But at the same time, it could also mean a boost in your self-worth, an increase in confidence, an increase in especially of course, it's a story, right? How do you handle these challenging events early in the month? Do you address them? Do you heal from them? And then as a result, later in the month, you may feel an increase in your self-worth. And Jupiter going retrograde in your 10th house on July 28th is the time to maybe rethink how you're approaching your career and where do you want to see yourself. And, as you're entering these new beginnings professionally, perhaps you're also, because it's a new moon and new moons take about 6 months to fully bloom. We get a full moon in the same sign 6 months later. So with Jupiter being retrograde, it's sort of like you're course correcting. You're trying to go into a new direction and figure out what is it that truly matters to you on a personal level and professional level. For Leo risings, the Sun is in the 12th house until July 22nd, and you seek alone time. You, of course, there's still action in your 11th house with Venus there, so you may just kind of want to retreat and figure out who you are in isolation, especially until July 22nd, because then the Sun goes in your 1st house and it's more like party time. The new moon on July 28th is very significant for you guys. But yeah, early in the month, enjoying alone time, leaning into spirituality, feeling more inspired when you're on your own, having the best ideas when you're on your own, like going far away somewhere is a fun time right now for you guys, especially with Jupiter being in your ninth. The month begins kind of rough with Mars in the ninth squaring Pluto in your sixth on July 1st. It starts to build at the end of June and it kind of continues for a few days after July 1st. So Mars in the ninth squares Pluto in the sixth. Pluto in the sixth can bring frustration related to your work. Maybe you are on a trip somewhere and with Mars in the ninth, taking action, right? Like learning something new, traveling. And then Pluto in the sixth is like this person that you work with that needs your attention and like takes you away from the joy of travel or the actions that you're taking. There might be health fears or some kind of like health matters that need your attention. Take good care of yourself, especially if you're traveling, right? There might be some kind of like bureaucracy thing, like you're on a trip and you need to, or you're learning something, you're in school, right? Like you're pursuing new things professionally, and then Pluto in the sixth is like these people making you jump through hoops. Could be the time to like look at the ways in which you're like pursuing your goals, and maybe with Pluto in the sixth house, maybe you're trying to avoid the effort that it takes. Make sure you're not trying to avoid that, like, you know, the long route. Be careful with like going through underhand channels and like more complicated matters. Let me know if this resonates. On July 13th, we have a full moon in Capricorn, your sixth house. So whatever bureaucracy, difficulty, conflict with a coworker you've been dealing with or health issue you've been dealing with, July 13th is a turning point. It might bring a change to your relationship with a colleague, maybe a completion of a health issue, maybe, you know, getting over a hurdle of some sort, completing a work project. It conjoins Pluto, so there might be tough feelings and desire to be in control of your emotions and come across as someone who has like everything together, while the sun is in the 12th house. The sun in the 12th says that you want to relax, you want to be alone, you want to chill. So you're sort of trying to find that balance and maybe needing to release some of the professional things, or needing to release some of the things that you're serving and working on really, really hard in order to find more peace and joy. And this full moon also squares Chiron in the ninth house. So some things that maybe you're healing and working on have to do with your self-doubts and your beliefs in yourself, right? Like it's literally like escape and isolation with the sun in the 12th house, and work and problem solving with the moon in the 6th house. And then like Chiron is in the ninth, saying that you should look at your beliefs, you should look at your life philosophy and possibly change it to be more secure in yourself, to be more confident, to be more self-reliant. On July 16th, we have Mercury conjunct the Sun, Mercury Cazimi, in your 12th house. And this is very inspirational, very insightful. You might actually get some kind of insights in your dreams through intuitive channels, through astrology. A good time to examine your self-defeating actions and habits. And, you know, like I feel like there's a lot of like health action with the 6th house too. So if you are dealing with some kind of health problem, the Mercury Cazimi time could be a time of revelation of like, what are you doing wrong? Are you leading a lifestyle that's not healthy, and maybe you need to adjust somehow? But also a lovely time for imagination. Could be great. I love the end of the month for Leo risings a lot, because from July 22nd, Sun goes into Leo. Mercury would already be there from July 19th. There is a new moon in Leo on July 28th. The new moon trines Jupiter. So it's just like lots of new beginnings, lots of energy, lots of opportunities to step into the spotlight, to be the star of the show, to be seen, to shine, and to be bold and loud and proud. So this new moon is definitely about like personal, professional growth. Trines Jupiter in the 9th, opportunities related to education, travel, legal matters, publishing, maybe moving to a different place, maybe taking a job that requires a great deal of traveling versus the job that you have right now, or just going on more trips, right? Maybe that's also a possibility that you decide to go travel more. Jupiter stations retrograde on the same day, so it's supporting the new beginnings, but Jupiter being stationary is a sign that it's likely not going to be quick. It's a sign that you're going to have to proceed with care and maybe deal with some kind of legal matters and kind of behind the scenes things, and have a solid plan before things complete, especially when it comes to those travel, education, legal matters. Let me know how this resonates in the comments below. Moving on to Virgo rising. For Virgo risings, the sun stays in your 11th house until July 22nd. So your focus is on your friendships, your networks, social media, your fans. You're sort of working a lot with other people. You're socializing a lot more. You're networking. You're like connecting with people who are like-minded. And Venus goes into your 11th house, which is on July 17th until August 11th. Also really good for being extra charming in a social setting, really shining and being extra appealing and great at drawing good things into your life. So the month begins complicated because we have Mars squaring Pluto. So Mars in your 8th house squares Pluto in the 5th house on July 1st. And Pluto in the 5th house can make you look at your romantic tendencies, at your inner child wounds, and maybe you experience some kind of tension and challenges when it comes to that. It's Mars in the 8th house wants to work with others and maybe wants to start new relationships and new collaborations, but then Pluto in the 5th says that there is like some kind of issue to your confidence, issue to your identity, a challenge to your identity, like feels very much like inner child wound. Or if you are a parent, maybe it's connected to your children. Maybe your child is triggering some kind of personal problem that you need to heal, or it's connected to childbirth. Maybe you are really struggling with the idea of whether you want to have kids or not, and maybe there's disagreements or kind of like struggles with your partner about that. So definitely like looking at your idea of fun, your idea on children, your idea of joy, and other people's, and how can you make their feelings work with your feelings, and also healing anything, because like 8th house is very much about healing, and Pluto in the 5th house can make you be too controlling when it comes to matters related to children, creativity, and romance. So something, even I'm even thinking it could be like a past relationship. You hear something about your ex, you get that like affects you somehow, and then hopefully that leads to healing. Or a partner says something and it affects you because it brings up all these past issues. So just be careful, pay attention to things, work on healing them versus exploding, because this could be a very explosive transit if you don't keep it together. On July 13th, there's a full moon in Capricorn in your 5th house conjunct Pluto. So we're continuing that story with the full moon in Capricorn. And full moon is always an opposition between the sun in your 11th house, the groups, the friendships, the networks, the good of the world, versus the full moon is in your 5th house, your joy, your creativity, your romance, your child, your sense of fun. So here it's about, you're likely feeling deep emotions. There might be disagreements with what your friends think versus what you think. You may be dealing with these like inner child wounds with like self-confidence questions. And Maybe, maybe dealing with some kind of power struggles when it comes to your creative partnership or your romantic relationship. It feels like it's really the time to rethink the way you approach things. Pluto demands you to transform. It demands you to go face that darkness, sit with it, look at what's coming up, and like, don't blame other people, don't point fingers at other people and say like it's their fault. Instead, look at yourself and see how you can heal yourself. It's squaring Chiron in the 8th house, so I wonder if for some Virgo risings this means like a new relationship, and maybe this new relationship this month is bringing a lot of fears and a lot of issues that you haven't addressed, because you are taking all of your past relationship baggage and bringing it into the new relationship. So be careful, try to release old beliefs, old ideas about relationships that don't serve you. And then on a different level, this could also bring, it's the 5th house full moon, so maybe you're like getting pregnant, having a child, completing a creative project, completing a creative partnership. But yeah, like Chiron in the 8th definitely feels like you're healing something. I feel like you can't avoid healing with all this action in your 8th house. On July 16th, we have Mercury Cazimi in your 11th house. Mercury conjoins the Sun in your 11th house, and this is always highly empowered Mercury that can help you understand something about your friendships and your relationships and your status in the world. There might be good news and opportunities related to social media, to volunteering, working with others, and being a leader. And good time to think of like, where do you see yourself? Who do you want to surround yourself with? And what are you building towards? Because 11th house deals with hopes and dreams. The Sun enters Leo, your 12th house, on July 22nd, and then there's going to be a new moon in Leo on July 28th. And you're continuing on this journey of healing, and perhaps with the Sun in the 12th house, there is the sense of needing to pull back, needing to take a trip somewhere. If it's a trip to a yoga retreat, even better. If you're going, let me know, good for you. But like retreating, taking a step back, spending some time alone, trying to understand yourself. The new moon in the 12th house is lovely for introducing spiritual practices in your life and focusing on your mental health, starting therapy, getting more involved with your well-being, learning to let go of unhealthy tendencies, and also possibly becoming a healer for other people. It's aspecting Jupiter, trining Jupiter in the 8th house. Jupiter is stationing retrograde, making you rethink your contracts and your relationships with others and your fears and your dependencies on others. So as you're going with this new moon, as you're like healing and tapping into spirituality and maybe becoming a healer, it's very much supported by Jupiter in the 8th. But I think Jupiter in the 8th being retrograde says that before you get to where you're going, or before you do find healing, you have to revisit a lot of things and rethink a lot of contracts and agreements you have with other people. Libra risings have the Sun in the 10th until July 22nd. So the Sun is in the 10th, Mercury is in your 10th from July 5th until July 19th. Venus goes in your 10th from July 17th until August 11th. So the entire month there's a ton of action in your house of career. And the Sun warms it up. The Sun encourages growth, and Mercury means new ideas. Venus gives you more charm. In the middle of the month with the Cazimi moment, it's like, empowered, new beginnings when it comes to professional matters. So it's a very productive time for Libra risings. The month starts off in a not such a fun way with Mars in your 7th house of relationships and partnerships, squaring Pluto in the 4th on July 1st. Pluto has been in your 4th for like ever. So whatever, you know, it's likely an old issue. It's not necessarily like a new thing. Fourth house is home and family, power struggles in the home and in your family, difficulty related to your living situation. You know, like maybe a terrible neighbor, maybe a family dynamic that is unhealthy, a parent that demands all of your attention, maybe a leak in your home that takes away from the joy of partnership or from all of your business plans that you're working on. So this could bring power struggles within family, but like definitely take a look at what have you already been dealing with and tell me in the comments below. But yeah, some kind of fear and challenge and wounding that comes from the past that affects you and affects your relationships. Maybe you go on a date and the person brings something up and you like feel a wave of fear because it triggers your inner child, right? So all of the Pluto energy this month, and there's a lot of Pluto energy this month, is about healing. So you're working on healing those unprocessed wounds and past trauma, addressing them, releasing them, embracing your inner child, holding it close and loving, putting all the love on it, loving it as much as you can. And yeah, like watch out for the difficulty affecting your relationships, because it's most likely going to do that. And take it easy, especially in the end of June, beginning of July. And also just like any kind of fears and frustrations you may be dealing with when it comes to the matters of home and family and people who are vulnerable and people who need protection and defense, and you know, might even be like things that are happening in the world affecting your peace. On July 13th, there's a full moon in Capricorn in your fourth house. So July 13th, it's conjoining Pluto. So it's definitely making us look at, it just got so dark outside. So now I'm like sitting in the darkness. But the full moon in the fourth house brings changes to your home and family matters, and it's conjoining Pluto, so it feels tense, it feels emotional, it feels like you're dealing with fears and obsessions that maybe you have encountered early in the month, and you're letting them go. You're kind of open to letting them go, hopefully, right? Like, but look at with Saturn ruled fourth house, it's often a sign of having to be a grown-up in the relationship, in your childhood, right? So look at how you might still be carrying that into your life. I'm like, how much darker can it get? Sorry, I keep distracted. Might turn on light in a second. But just like look at how how you might still hold on to it, and how you might still hold on to this image of yourself of like, I'm in charge, I'm always like, I'm cool, I got it under control. Like, make sure you're not just getting too caught up in this outside image and not maybe expressing your vulnerability or your need for help. I think this could be like the full moon could be a really great opportunity to transform the way you do family and relationships and security. And of course, you know, there might be changes to your literal place of living, to your home and your family, and maybe you're moving, maybe you're completing a renovation project or going through some kind of change. Okay, the light is on, much better. On July 16th, there's a Mercury Cazimi in your 10th house of career. Mercury Cazimi is always the time of empowered intellect, enlightenment, opportunities, insights. So you may have an exciting new idea when it comes to your career, sort of revelation, good news, opportunities coming to you from other people. On July 22nd, Sun enters Leo, your 11th house, and then there's a new moon in Leo on July 28th. So 11th house deals with social media, friendships, networks, group projects, leadership. So, and you have Sun in your 11th house, so it's also likely that you are very much like a Leo when it comes to your friendships. You might be the leader, the person who gets everyone together, organizes things. So you can expect more involvement with friends, and the new moon specifically might bring new friendships into your life. It might bring new projects that deal with other people. Maybe you're collaborating with a friend. Maybe you're starting a new social media project. Maybe you're approaching, the way of dealing with clients or your fans or your social media followers in a brand new way. Definitely some kind of new beginnings, new dreams, and I'm personally really excited about it as a Libra rising, because I think this is lovely for an opportunity to shine and to get people together and to be like the light and to share your knowledge and to step into your confidence fully. It is trining Jupiter in the 7th house, the same Jupiter that is about to go retrograde at the same time as the new moon, of course, impacting the new moon. And Jupiter being in the 7th house says that you need to review your partnerships and your agreements with other people. So yes, there's a new moon in social media, collaborations, new beginnings when it comes to working with other people, but Jupiter is retrograde, so it means things will take a while and things will require careful thinking and planning and organizing. So are you starting a project with a friend, but do you really need to have a contract in place? Or do you have to talk about it and figure out your agreement? Because at first you were like, oh, fun idea, let's start a podcast. But then later on you realize that there's a lot of work involved and you don't want to be doing everything on your own. And then for some Libra risings, Jupiter retrograde may bring past flings into your life or past relationships. Or even people from the past, not necessarily romantic, because I feel like it's often misunderstood, but Jupiter in the 7th is not the most romantic transit. It often brings teachers and mentors and people who can inspire you or who can help you build something. So any past relationship, a teacher from the past, a friend, a romantic connection, or someone who can just offer you advice and guidance. For Scorpio risings, the sun is in the 9th house until July 22nd, and this is a lovely time to travel, to expand your mind through education, taking classes, becoming a teacher. 9th house deals with legal matters, so maybe you can, take care of any legal matters that are outstanding in your life. And it's also the house of publishing, so writing and coming up with an idea for a book, let's say, could be very much a part of this transit. The month begins sort of rough with Mars in the 6th house squaring Pluto in the 3rd on July 1st. Mars in the 6th house wants to get work done. It feels very energetic to take care of business. But then Pluto in the 3rd brings a distraction, a wound, an issue connected to communication or siblings. Maybe you're struggling to fully express yourself, and that makes you look at the way you communicate in general. Maybe there is a difficulty with a sibling or a neighbor that you can't quite figure out, some kind of frustration, or you're like renting your house to people and somebody stops paying rent. There might just be difficult situation that you have to deal with when it comes to Pluto representing 3rd house other people, siblings, neighbors, tenants, aunts, uncles being kind of triggering for you. Or there can also be some kind of inner darkness that you're dealing with, like an inner struggle and fears that you're dealing with that relate to communication. And maybe, kind of trying to express yourself, express yourself more honest and in a more honest way, and maybe talk about your frustrations instead of bottling them up could be a lovely thing right now. Be careful driving too fast. I would say for Scorpio risings, the beginning of the month is avoid rushing places, because Pluto in the third house can bring some kind of frustrating event that has to do with transportation or technology. Something breaks down and then you are dealing with things without your phone and you have all of your contacts in your phone. On July 13th, there's a full moon in Capricorn. This is your third house. So we are continuing to deal with the topics related to communication, transportation, schedule, siblings. So something needs to be changed in that sector of your life. Whatever it is you've been struggling with, and let me know how this resonates in the comments below, you are called to transform it. This full moon conjoins Pluto, so there might be a lot of emotions connected to your immediate environment, to your relationship with people in your immediate environment. Maybe a sibling is going through a hard time and you need to be there for them. But I think you're very much rethinking your relationship with them if there is a frustration, if there is a challenge. And you might be also rethinking your schedule. Are you overloading yourself? Does something need to change? Are you self-sacrificing yourself? Are you not expressing how you truly feel? All of those things could be quite significant right now. And it squares Chiron in the 6th, which also feels like healing, and healing maybe the tendency to self-sacrifice and heal everyone else before you heal yourself. And yeah, like kind of some kind of issue that deals with healing, or maybe a work matter where with this full moon you might also choose to release a responsibility and change your schedule and maybe add more space for fun, more space for exploring your neighborhood and having fun in the neighborhood. On July 16th, we have quite exciting Mercury Cazimi. Mercury conjoins the Sun in the 9th house, and there might be an insight related to travel, education, legal matters, publishing, any one of those things. There might be opportunity, good news coming to you related to that. Maybe you're getting a chance to travel, maybe you're getting a chance to study something, maybe you're even understanding, kind of getting an insight into your own psyche and what you want and what your goals are. On July 22nd, Sun enters Leo. And then on July 28th, we have a new moon in Leo. This is your 10th house, so new beginnings related to career. And Leo is very expressive. It's very unafraid to shine, very unafraid to ask for what Leo wants. So you get this like boost. And Mercury will also be in Leo from July 19th. So you are more courageous, more ready, more willing to take risks at work, more excited about stepping into the light and taking projects that require hard work and dedication, because you know you have what it takes to get them to a good place. And this full moon, this new moon trines Jupiter in your 6th house, and Jupiter is stationing retrograde the same day. So having Jupiter trine the new moon is very supportive, very helpful, and it implies that you have that dedication to work hard, and you also can get good luck from the sector of health and legal and work. But basically Jupiter in the 6th gives you good health and gives you the patience and determination to get to where you're going. Jupiter also stations retrograde that same day. It's already retrograde, or it's already stationary and not moving at the time of the new moon, which means that whatever professional new beginning you're taking on, if it's a new job you're starting, if it's a new position that you're asking for, a business, it's going to take some time. Jupiter retrograde is asking you to put up a better kind of schedule, a better way of problem solving, maybe take better care of your health, so you're navigating these new beginnings from a more steady and slow perspective, and like taking it easy before you fully see results, because the new moon is a 6 month long cycle, and it might take a while for you to fully see the results. For Sag risings, the sun is in the 8th house until July 22nd. So you may be dealing a lot with matters that relate with debts and duties and contracts you have with other people. Are you reliant on someone else for financial support? Are you joining resources with someone, or are you separating from a spouse and you need to deal with your joint finances? This is the month where there's a lot of focus and a lot of light connected to relating with other people, and also like trying to find fairness in those relationships. Good time to take care of insurance payments, taxes, any relationship, any obligations you have to other people. In the beginning of the month, things feel a little rough because Mars in the 5th will square Pluto in the 2nd. You are not quite free to have fun in the beginning of the month. Mars in the 5th might desire to have a good time romantically, to create something, to have a child, or to enjoy spending time with a child, or invest into a child. And then Pluto comes in the 2nd house and possibly creates a conflict related to money. Maybe you want to spend money on a trip, your partner wants to spend money on a home renovation. So difficulties related to values in romantic relationship, difficulties related to values with your children. Topics of control. How much do you allow money to control you? How much do you allow what other person and what their opinions are on finances to control you? 2nd house also deals with self-worth. So I feel like this, Mars square Pluto, 5th, 2nd house. Do you not believe in yourself? Are there certain things that you're like encouraged with this square to look at your own self-doubt? Like, are you sacrificing and agreeing to things that you don't really want to do in your relationship? So could be dramatic time, could be explosive time, bring frustrations, disagreements, hurt feelings. So be careful in the beginning of the month. This is July 1st, but you start to feel it at the end of June, and it continues for a few days into July. On July 13th, we have a full moon in Capricorn in your 2nd house. So some kind of change to your finances. And once again, full moon is the sun versus the moon. The sun is in your 8th house. The moon is in your 2nd house. So you're going through a transformation of finances, but it's very much connected to perhaps past dependencies on other people or new dependencies on other people. So like your finances are changing, but it's possibly because you are paying off a debt, or you are joining your finances with someone and opening a joint bank account. So and professionally too, leaving a job, getting a raise, starting a new job, starting a business are very much possibilities here. It conjoins Pluto, so you're also encouraged to transform your relationship with money. Do you feel like you need to make $1 million, but you're perfectly happy with less, but you're freaking yourself out and feeling upset because you don't have this number that you see as a perfect number? Could be very much the time to look at your own ideals and ideas of money and things that you value, and maybe transform something, release something. It squares Chiron in the 5th house, so you're healing your self-doubt and your uncertainty about being self-reliant, which I think is very much the theme with this full moon in Capricorn for all signs. But learning to rely on yourself, learning to believe in yourself, and learning to change your relationship to money and to things that truly matter in your life. Maybe starting to understand that something you thought mattered doesn't matter. On July 16th, there's a Mercury Cazimi in the 8th house. So if you are dealing with paying off a debt, if you're dealing with dividing your inheritance or dividing property or getting a loan, I may have already said that, but you will get good news. You'll get good news related to debts, taxes, loans, shared resources, and maybe opportunities to free yourself or opportunities to join forces with someone else and maybe make more money, but by going into a business partnership. On July 22nd, Sun will enter Leo in the 9th house, in your 9th house. Leo, your 9th house. And then there's going to be a new moon in Leo in your 9th house, trining Jupiter in the 5th. So the Sun going in Leo is lovely for travel, for education, for expanding your mind through learning new things, through going on a trip, through watching exciting documentaries, going to a museum and learning something via exploring the museum. The new moon will likely bring a new opportunity to travel or study or maybe write, publish your work. There might be new legal matter that you're dealing with, especially if you're a lawyer. This might be more significant for you. Maybe you are applying for a visa, or you're starting to teach, or you're taking a course, or like even if you're not teaching, but you might be embracing some kind of role professionally that allows you to do more teaching or sharing knowledge. And it's trining Jupiter in the 5th house. So whatever you're doing, if it's like travel, if it's education, it's likely bringing more joy into your life, because Jupiter in the 5th house really wants for you to connect with what makes you happy. And because Jupiter goes retrograde on the same day, July 28th, it's likely that these new beginnings will take some time to develop, and they're not going to be immediate. You might wait a little bit for them to show up in your life. And you're also, with Jupiter in the 5th, you're also like rethinking what, similarly, you know, with what I was talking about with the House of Money, you are rethinking what makes you happy, what makes you joyful, what makes you secure, and what fun is for you. Maybe like, you know, you've been so focused on like getting a new romance, but you haven't focused on your self-destructive habits or something like that, like something where you take things a little bit too far and you prioritize romance before you prioritize yourself. I think the theme of this month could be start with yourself, start with self-worth, and then everything else will come. Capricorn risings have the Sun in their 7th house until July 22nd. So Sun in the 7th is about romance. It's about relationships. Similarly to Cancer risings, you are very charming this month, especially starting from July 17th until August 11th, with Venus being in your 7th house. Lovely time to date, lovely time to join forces with other people and enter new partnerships. And you even have more power to compromise and negotiate and sign contracts and come to agreements with people. The month begins rough with Mars in the 4th house squaring Pluto in the 1st house on July 1st. So Mars in the 4th, there's a desire to take action related to family, to real estate, to home and property. And Pluto in the 1st brings a situation, an issue, a self-doubt, a fear. It's likely that you yourself are somehow the source of a problem. So maybe, you know, Pluto in the 1st house, like you're going through some kind of emotional transformation. It's not a new issue. It's been there for a while. You've been transforming yourself for a while. So maybe you're just like, maybe you're dealing with the fear that, you know, like if you're moving, if you are starting a family, if you're dealing with like a real estate matter, maybe you're asked to transform it and you're asked to look at your own fears related to that. Like what's blocking you from taking the next step? What is standing in your way? Topics of control in relationships, topics of power struggles related to home, family, your parents, your people you share a home with. Living situation might present some kind of problems, like maybe you have maybe there's, you know, a tenant you have that's not paying rent, or they're giving you a hard time. So very much like issues and triggers and challenges related to home, family, and your childhood, and the fears that you have that are preventing growth. And of course, we will continue dealing with this issue even looking at July 13th full moon in Capricorn. There's a full moon in your 1st house and it conjoins Pluto. So very much a completion of something that would have started 6 months ago. changes to your identity, changes to your physical body, like getting tattooed, changing your hair color, completing some kind of chapter in your life, like getting married or getting divorced, or, you know, moving out of your parents' house, some kind of major start. And it conjoins Pluto, so you're feeling emotional, you're like getting squeezed through a birth canal and being reborn, coming out as a butterfly that was crushed and rebuilt. I don't know much about butterflies, but I know like they are in a cocoon that is uncomfortable for them. So you are kind of going through this transformation, and very much encouraged to let go of control, let go of the past, and let things that are happening happen. And healing the past wounds, especially healing the childhood wounds and the beliefs that you inherited from your family, ideals you've inherited, and all the ways in which they are blocking your growth. Because this full moon also squares Chiron in the 4th house, which deals with past family issues. On July 16th, there's Mercury Cazimi. Sun conjoins Mercury in your 7th house, which is lovely for relationships, lovely for compromising, good news when it comes to partnerships, business opportunities, romantic engagement with other people. Just feels like you come to some kind of sense of understanding that maybe the tough times you're going through can be solved through communication or through compromising. On July 22nd, Sun enters Leo, and then on July 28th, we have a new moon in Leo in your 8th house that is trining Jupiter in the 4th. I'm very excited about this new moon. I think it's looking promising, and for you it's happening in the house of other people's money, other people's resources, debts, and taxes. And it's the trine to Jupiter is very interesting because it seems like your finances might be increasing related to the finances of your family, like an inheritance maybe, or related to support from your family, or real estate, like selling or buying a home possibly, or maybe investing into a home. So whatever financial change you're going through definitely feels like it relates to your place of living and your family dynamics. So your finances might be up for a big change in the next 6 months. Maybe you are paying a debt, getting a loan, investing into a mortgage, winning a case if you're battling for like a home, for example. And the trine to Jupiter is definitely promising, but Jupiter is stationary. It goes retrograde on the same day, July 28th, in your 4th house. So you might need to rethink your living situation and rethink your approach to the matters related to home and family as Jupiter goes through its retrograde. For Aquarius rising, the Sun spends most of the month in the 6th house until July 22nd. So you're problem solving, you're focusing on your health, you're going to the doctor, you're changing your diet, maybe exercising more. And then on the 22nd, things kind of shift to be more about relationships when the Sun goes into Leo. The beginning of the month is tricky because Mars in the 3rd house will square Pluto in your 12th house on July 1st. And so Mars in the 3rd house wants to socialize, wants to take short trips, communicate, write, deal with people, and Pluto in the 12th feels like some kind of like self-destructive tendency, self-sabotaging thing, something in which you're standing in your own way. Maybe it's, you know, like you have plans to go out with your sibling, and then someone from the past comes knocking on your door and you cancel plans with sibling, and that results in a conflict with them. But then there might also be like issues with siblings, issues with communication, like you get into a fight with a sibling because you think something they did, but in reality maybe you did it, and this makes you look at your negative tendencies. Because Pluto in the 12th house has been there for a while, will ask you to transform something that feels good but doesn't serve you. So like, you know, maybe you're dealing with issues related to self-sacrifice or a negative habit that is blocking your progress, or self-doubt. There is a skill that you have and you want to be an astrologer, or you want to be a yoga teacher, but you keep telling yourself that you don't have enough knowledge, and it's like, oh, I'll take another class, and it's been like 5 years later. So pay attention to what comes up. Look at all the ways in which you sabotage yourself and hold yourself back, and things you tell yourself, because this could be a good time to let it go. On July 13th, we have a full moon in Capricorn in the 12th house, conjunct Pluto. Intensity, depth, feelings coming up, past issues coming up, things that maybe you have felt, you have processed and released and been completed, but they still like come knocking on your door and tell you that you need to take them for another spin before you can fully move on. So being, you know, addressing those things, addressing self-defeating things, and maybe prioritizing rest around July 13th, around this full moon, can be very significant. And diving into spirituality, I think, could be lovely too. If, you know, 12th house sometimes deals with like healing people and yoga and helping people who are isolated, or shining light on things that need to be looked at but are hard to looked at. So I wonder if maybe you're serving as this like person for someone else, and maybe this could be something like you're completing a cycle and graduating as a yoga teacher. So this could be like another possibility too. But it squares Chiron in the 3rd house. So once again, we get this like exchange between the 3rd and the 12th. So self-doubts related to your knowledge and your communication skills, and questioning whether you have enough, whether you can stand on your own 2 feet. And you can, you just have to believe in yourself. On July 16th, Mercury conjoins the Sun in your 6th house, and there could be good news, insights, opportunities related to your daily work, to problem solving, to health and legal matters. Great time to maybe come up with a new diet or a new exercise routine and choose to take better care of yourself. Your relationship with colleagues will also likely be good at this time. On July 22nd, Sun enters Leo, your 7th house, and then on the 28th, we have a new moon in Leo, your 7th house, trining Jupiter in the 3rd. This is lovely. It's the time for you to embrace your light, especially in relationships, to focus on dating and going out and connecting with other people, expressing yourself. Because it trines Jupiter in the 3rd house, I wonder if you're starting partnerships with people that use your skills, like you're starting a business partnership where you sell jewelry, you make jewelry, for example, and sell it. Or you are starting a partnership with a sibling. Or maybe it's a new romantic relationship with someone you met through a sibling, or someone you met in your neighborhood. The trine to Jupiter definitely says good luck when it comes to communicating and using your skills and starting a business or connecting with a sibling. But because Jupiter is retrograde and stations retrograde on the same day, it says that you also sort of have to rethink your relationship with your sibling, or your approach to your skills, or your desire to start a business, because it's not a simple task, and it's better to approach things slowly and carefully and take it one step at a time. So Jupiter in the 3rd will make you reconsider your ideas, reconsider your schedule, the tools you have, the techniques you use, and create more of a guideline. Finally, for Pisces rising, the Sun starts the month and until July 22nd spends the time in your 5th house, which is a very fertile time, very creative, very imaginative time, lovely to go on a date, to spend time with children, to play and indulge into any creative pursuits, into your hobbies, and just overall have fun, as well as make babies. And this is something that you are interested in. But we begin the month a little bit more complicated, with Mars in the 2nd squaring Pluto in your 11th. And Pluto in the 11th can create issues and power struggles with friends, and they might have to do with money. There might be issues related to finances or maybe values. maybe you have very different opinions about a specific topic, and then that brings a conflict with your friends. But pay attention to how you address the situation at this time, because possibly what annoys you in them or what affects you and frustrates you is something that you also have. Because second house deals with values, you might also be questioning whether this friendship and this relationship is of value to you, whether it's important to you, and possibly sorting through and figuring out what relationships are worth and which ones are not worth keeping. But keep in mind that this is a tough transit, and maybe you're feeling this frustration, but it will pass later. I mean, this entire month is very much busy with power struggles, but don't make any harsh decisions just on July 1st. It's not a good time. And this transit, of course, builds for like 3 days before the end of June and then continues in early July. On July 13th, we have a full moon in Capricorn in your 11th house. It conjoins Pluto and squares Chiron in the second house. Full moon in the 11th a lot of times means a change to a friendship. Once again, possibly releasing a friendship or moving, transforming a friendship. There might be changes to a group project. There might be changes to your social media strategy, especially if you are like an influencer. Maybe this is a sign of something important happening in your life. It conjoins Pluto, so some kind of transformation, power struggles, matters of control. How tightly are you holding on to things? How tightly are you involved with your friends or with your plans? And maybe you're just encouraged to look at things differently and be more flexible and release control a little bit. Because Sun is in your 5th. The Sun wants fun, the Sun wants romance, but you also have all these ambitions, and you're really encouraged to try and find balance between your ambitions and the joy of personal connections and fun. So be careful, right? And like pay attention. I think too, with Chiron in the second house, you are encouraged to heal your self-doubt. You are encouraged to look at where do you believe that you're not worth something. Like, if you're applying for a job, but you're not applying for some kind of job because you think you don't have the knowledge or qualifications. But a lot of people apply for jobs and they learn as they go. They have the degree, but then they figure it out as they go. So maybe there's a little bit of that, like believe in yourself, believe that you deserve all that you set your mind on. On July 16th, we have Mercury Cazimi in the 5th house. On July 17th, the day after, Venus enters your 5th house. So even more focus on joy, possible opportunities, good news, insights on July 16th related to creative projects, to having children, to dating people. So it could be a very fertile, joyful time. And then on July 22nd, the Sun will enter Leo, your 6th house, and then you'll have a new moon in Leo on July 28th. Leo wants to shine. 6th house is not the most place where people shine. It's like the place of ground work. It's the place of daily struggles, paying the bills, doing the laundry. So like a lot of your focus will go towards that, and maybe you will try to be playful and creative when it comes to those things. Finding more joy in your daily life, playing music as you're doing the dishes. Adding some kind of creative hobby into your daily schedule, maybe treating yourself, right? Like treating yourself to a massage as much as you can. Treat yourself with like the careful 6th house, treating yourself to a delicious food. New beginnings at work are also possible with this new moon in the 6th house, especially because it's trining Jupiter in the 2nd. So I feel like Jupiter in the 2nd promises new beginnings for you financially and when it comes to self-worth and confidence. But Jupiter is also stationary at the time of the new moon on July 28th. And Jupiter being stationary means that it's about to begin the retrograde, and it's about to go through the whole process of rethinking finances and values and approach to things and what is it that truly matters to you. So the new beginnings that the moon symbolizes will take a while to fully develop. And you have the patience, you have the courage and perseverance with the new moon in the 6th house. Let me know if this resonates. I hope this video was helpful and I hope you enjoyed it, and have a lovely July. If you'd like a personal reading with a lot more information, a lot more personalized, DM me on Instagram or send me an email. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.